Does it seem more these days that more people are falling and getting hurt or worse at football stadiums? Why do you think that is? Is it the alcohol? Is it the stadium design? Who's at fault and who's responsible? An attorney who's represented lots of people who've been injured at stadiums joins us next to talk about it right here on Phil Hulett and Friends. All right, we're back here on Phil Hulett and Friends. After a few beers at the stadium, you're up in the cheap seats. You know who you are.
Right.
Do you worry about falling down those steep concrete stairs or over the railing? I know I have. God forbid you fall over that railing to your certain death, perhaps. You are right to worry because it happens a lot. And it seems like it's happened a lot recently. Joining us live is noted Dallas attorney who has a background in these sorts of mishaps, Frank Branson. Welcome, sir.
Hi, Phil. How are you?
Excellent. Thanks. Even better now that you're here. How often does something like that happen?
As you indicated from the papers, it seems to happen more often today than it has in the past.
Yeah, and there have been a couple, you mentioned the papers, there have been a couple of incidents just in the last few months, if I'm not mistaken.
There have, and basically the answer to your question is the duty owed by a sports team or sports facility to the public will be the state law of the state where the team's playing. For example, California may be significantly more helpful to the victim than the law of Texas would be.
Now, when you say helpful to the victim, is this after the injury or during the construction of the stadium?
Well, I think it makes the laws governing them are state laws for each of our individual states. Yeah. For example, when I got your call, I called Tom Girardi, who tried that case involving the parking lot. I think it was at L.A. Stadium, where a man was beaten to death.
Oh, Dodger Stadium.
Yes. And he indicated the duty in California is that of a business invitee. That is, you owe the individuals who are purchasing tickets a right to be reasonable and prudent in avoiding injury to them.
Right, yeah.
And he also indicated that it's hard to get these waivers that you see on the back of the tickets to stand up in California. Mm-hmm. Other states are much more restrictive in what the victim can do if they've signed a waiver. Some states, for example, require what they call conspicuousness doctrine, where for any waiver to be valid, it would have to be in bold caps on the back of the waiver.
Yeah.
And the basic rule being you can't hide in the fine print a waiver of liability before liability.
And incidentally, a judge granted a hefty fee. The Dodgers had to pay $15 million in civil damages to San Francisco Giants fan Brian Stowe after he was beaten in the parking lot. And the two guys that did the beating or were convicted of doing the beating were sent off to prison for a long time. Now
it should be, and the victim hired a good lawyer. I've known Girardi a long time.
Yeah. Now, the design of the stadiums.
Yes.
I wonder if the kind of design where we pack all the fans up in the cheap seats at a pretty extreme angle in many cases, or slope, where you can fall down the concrete steps, or perhaps over a railing, trying to reach for a ball, or maybe you're just leaning over, and somebody walks through, and excuse me, pardon me, and whoa, and you go over the side, and there's a lot of alcohol being willfully drunk, of course, by the people who purchase it, but also sold. And so there's a lot of people that are potentially responsible for all this. But I guess the question I'm interested in, here in Los Angeles, in the Los Angeles market, there are talks about building 3, maybe 4 different football stadiums.
Right.
And I'm not sure ultimately how many will be built, but is the design these days influenced by what you're dealing with here with these cases, with the injuries? And if not, what do you hope will get built into the construction plans to make things safer?
Certainly safety of the customers coming to the games should be built in. And I think the architect on up owe a duty to be reasonable and prudent when they're designing these stadiums. I just finished a case a couple of years ago where Dallas Cowboys had a practice facility that was a cloth-covered metal building. And on windy days or rainy days, they would practice in this facility. And it collapsed one day in a windstorm and broke the neck of one of the coaches and broke the back of one of the scouts. And I represented them. And getting involved in that case, you got to see a lot of what went into or should have gone into the architect and the construction stadium that wasn't there. But there was no question there was a duty on behalf of the people, of the general contractor, the architect, and several other people in this instance, to protect the people who are going to be in it on a windy day.
Is there anything that can be done? I suppose it would be at the huge expense of the ownership or whoever it is that owns. In many cases, the cities own the stadiums. But what should be done with the existing stadiums that are out there? That there's no plans to build new stadiums.
Well, you first of all, some of them may not be brought up to building code standards. There are some national building codes that are adopted by most cities and counties. And sometimes these stadiums are grandfathered or haven't been required by the governing structure or governance structure to bring them up to current city codes, building codes. That would be a big help.
Yeah.
Number two, in designing a new stadium, if they don't look at the ergonomics of the situation, they're asking for someone to be seriously injured or killed.
Yeah. All right, let's just pick one out of the blue sky. Oakland Coliseum. If you're 6'4" and you're walking around, there are some old copper pipes where they used to deliver the beer. They don't do it that way anymore. Through the walls, sticking out anywhere from 1 to 3 feet. And if you're 6'3" or 4" and you're in the wrong place at the wrong time and you're not paying attention, you could hit your head on a copper pipe. That's just one example of what the Oakland Coliseum, which is not the most luxurious Coliseum in the NFL, but perhaps should have been replaced about 15, 20 years ago. But just the same, it's still there. And it seems to me like that particular place is maybe not the only one that needs to be replaced in a hurry, but it could be rife with potential injuries for people that buy a ticket. And when they buy that ticket, it's implied they've signed away their rights in the event that they do get injured. So what do we do with all these old buildings?
I agree with you. It sounds to me like an accident waiting to happen.
Yeah.
But you have to look at, again, the state law, in this case, California, and the law kind of breaks it out generally in two different sections. Is it an action that takes place in the sports arena, and is it a conduct that when you go to the hockey game, you are assuming the risk of, for example, getting hit with a puck or a line drive down third baseline, or is it a premises defect? In this particular instance, it sounds like a premises defect.
Yeah.
In most states, the owner of the facility owes a duty to a business invitee to be reasonably prudent.
Yeah.
And certainly that would include, I've never suffered from the disability of being 6'4".
Right.
It certainly would include protecting 6'4" people.
Yeah, right, of course. Now, and you mentioned hockey. The NHL took steps. They raised the plexiglass around the rink so that the puck is less likely to go into the audience, and they erected huge nets on the end zone areas. And I wonder if, and you mentioned baseball, I wonder if at some point in the near future, baseball stadiums will uniformly put up netting beyond where it is at the backstop now, all the way down past the dugout area on the left and right field lines, first and third base.
One would hope that the league or the individual clubs would take their fans into consideration when they build or change the design of the stadium to protect people as best they can. And certainly, baseball has been aware of the danger of line drives, injuries from foul balls for a long time.
Yeah.
And netting is a very minimal price to pay.
Sure, yeah.
It keeps fans coming back.
The law offices of Frank L. Branson, Dallas attorney. Thank you, sir. Nice conversation to have, and hopefully your efforts and just a little bit of awareness will affect some change here in the near future.
Thank you, Phil. Take care.
All right, you too.